I've always been a fast songwriter. I don't like to take a lot of time fiddling around with things. I don't develop chord progressions over a long period of time. I pretty much have the song in my head, write the words down, and then the next time I'm around a musical instrument, I'll figure out what the chord progression is. My favorite way to write is to just write it for a purpose and then go and teach it to a group of people and perform it immediately, or write it and perform it immediately. The process of rehearsal for me only applies if I have a purpose for it. While I was a worship pastor at Aldea, my daughter also worked at the church. She would do the overhead projections of the lyrics and all of the announcements we had on video, things like that. We would be on our way to church in the morning, which was about a half an hour drive to get there. And she would be sitting somewhere in the car. I would begin to write a song in my head, and I would just call out the lyrics to her. She would write them down, and as soon as we got to church, she would make a presentation of the lyrics. I would make the lead sheet real fast, and I would teach the song to the praise team, band, whatever you want to call it. And then, boom, that day we had that song up. So from the time the song dropped from heaven into my brain to the time it was played in front of an audience could be as little as 2 hours. That to me is heaven. That to me is the way to do it. It was pretty common by that time for me to write the song in my head and scribble the words down on a piece of paper. And then at the end of the church service, I would walk up, pick up my guitar, play and perform the song for the first and sometimes only time. Again, that for me that's heaven. I've been writing songs my whole life. I don't remember a time when I wasn't writing. When I was a little kid, 8, 9, 10, something like that, I got a small reel-to-reel tape recorder with little 3.5-inch reels and this little dust cover that would come down over it. It was really no different than one of those old cassette players that had the speaker built in, except this happened to be reel-to-reel. I remember I wanted it for months. I do not know how I got it. I don't remember if I did extra chores around the house or if my mom or dad just bought it for me. I don't remember. I remember it came in the mail, or Sears catalog probably. But I had this thing and I carried it with me everywhere. I wore batteries out of that thing like crazy, and I only had 2 or 3 reels, so I couldn't save anything. But man, was I writing songs, and I took that thing everywhere. So the, gee, does my voice really sound this funny? That for me was already done long before I ever hit puberty. So it was more like, gee, does my voice really sound that funny? Now, of course, the first several hundred songs I wrote were awful, but I got them out of my way in my teens. By my mid-20s, I was a fairly decent songwriter. And by my 30s, I was a consistent songwriter. I could write something that didn't suck almost every time. But even if it did, I don't care. I don't have an audience, fan base, waiting with bated breath for me to unleash the newest bit of brilliance. Nobody cares. Nobody cares about my art. And I'm fine with that, actually. Now, at my advanced, decrepit state of age, I'm good with that. So that's how I write songs. I have always thought that songs were a gift from God, dropped from heaven or the universe, call it whatever you want, and whoever has their antenna up will get the song. I think that there are songs just waiting to be birthed. The person who receives them is the person who is open and ready and available to receive them at that moment. I also have many, many songs that I've written that simply don't exist anymore. And that's okay too. Where I wrote it or I received it, blurted it out, and then it was gone. Maybe there was no recording of it. We used to do a thing a lot. Well, actually, every band I've been in for the last 20 years has spent a lot of time writing songs on the fly in front of an audience. If you listen to the album Live at Alfie's Pub by the Mark Archambault Combo, over half those songs, or right around half those songs, were literally made up on the spot, which is probably why there's not a whole lot of chord changes and progressions going on and, not stellar arrangements, but it doesn't matter. It was of the moment and it worked at that point. If you listen to the recordings, the very few recordings available of Fish and Musicians, Christian band that I was in, or Number 8, which is pretty much the same band, just different variation and progression of it. there was a lot of spontaneous songs written. Matter of fact, we didn't know what to call this spontaneous song, and spontaneous song sounds too clunky to say, so we called it manna, as in the biblical thing that the Israelites ate every morning, because it says in the Bible, they called it manna, which is a word that means, what is it? To us, what is it? Where's it coming from? We knew the source, we didn't know why. I've discovered that that sort of thing just happens. So this recording isn't about my musical history, as in my musical life part 2. It's more just my thoughts on something. My thoughts, and $4 will get me a very small cup of burnt coffee at Starbucks.